All right, welcome to my Awakened Vardorvis video. This one was definitely a lot more challenging than Duke for me personally. Going into it, I knew this one would be harder because my biggest weakness in old school RuneScape is click accuracy, and Awakened Vard kind of takes that to a really, really high level, similar to Awakened Leviathan. So if you're somebody who has really high click accuracy and you have really high, click actions per minute, then I think as long as you know the mechanics of Vard and you practice a little bit, it probably won't take you as many tries as it took me. Um, but once again, my weakness is click accuracy. So for me, Awakened Vard was quite brutal. Most people I know say that their hardest awakened boss is either Vard or Leviathan. So I guess a lot of people struggle with click accuracy as well, maybe not just me. Once again, this video is not a guide. If you're looking for a guide, I would recommend checking out other content creators' videos on Awakened Vard and also just like their examples. This video is just so that you can see the mistakes I made in hopes that it helps you spend fewer attempts when you get your KC. All right, so with all that out of the way, there's just a couple of general tips. And if you've watched a lot of other content creators' videos on Awakened Vard, you've probably heard some of these tips. The first one for me is if I personally play on a full screen, like I play on a really big monitor. I don't play on fixed mode. So if you play, even if you play on fixed mode, I would recommend number one is dragging your inventory closer to I guess like Bard. That way you don't have to move your mouse as much to switch prayers and to move at the same time. So even if you're on fixed mode, but especially if you're on resizable mode, I would recommend holding down the Alt key and then just dragging your inventory so that it's closer to Vardorvis. That way you can perform a lot of actions within one tick sometimes if you need to. Um, Number two would be prioritize dodging axes. If you're praying melee, axes can hit up upwards of 40 damage. But if you have pray melee off or deactivated, it can hit 90 plus. Most times, if you get stacked out, it will be because you tanked an axe plus something else. If you tank an axe off prayer, you're basically dead. So prioritize dodging axes when you can. Number three, the tip would be you need to be able to flick at least some of the alternating prayer attacks or be able to recover well. Oftentimes, there's just so many things coming at you at once. Like you need to dodge a spike coming from underneath you, and there's also prayer orbs coming at you. Oh, but you also need to move because there's an axe coming at you. So you need to be able to prioritize which action to take. Number one, always dodge the axe, but you need to also be able to pray flick a little bit. You don't need to hit every single prayer. If you get off rhythm and your prayer gets deactivated, as long as you dodge the axes and you stay alive and you combo eat your way out of it, there will be at some point a small period of time when you get to turn your prayer back on. So there are a lot of moments like that in the clips that you're going to see from me. Um, you just need to learn what's prioritized, how to recover, and don't disregard prayer flicking entirely. You need to prayer flick for sure, but axe number one, always. And then number four is pretty obvious one. Just practice. The only way to get better at Wake and Vard is basically just to keep on repeating and practicing. Some YouTubers will say like you can get normal Vardorvis down to enraged phase, which is like 33 or 25%, something like that, and just like sit there and practice. Maybe that'll help, but in my opinion, like the only way to really get a feel for Awakened Vardorvis is just to throw yourself at him and just to keep trying. Obviously, if you're tilted, probably give yourself a break. But um, if you want to just really get a grip of the mechanics and the rhythm of it, because there is a point in time where things start to click, and it is kind of like a rhythm. The only way to do that is just to throw yourself at Awakened Vard and just keep practicing and keep trying. And eventually things will line up. Like sometimes you will have really humble and rage phases where every time you make a mistake, there aren't axes that you have to dodge, so you can kind of recover. And then there are some cases where you get your pair gets knocked off consistently, and then there's also axes coming, and you just get comboed out, and Vard slaps you 60s nonstop without your protect from melee pair on. Like there's going to be bad kills, and then there's going to be like really humble kills. So all you need is one KC. So all it takes is just practice. Try to get as consistent as you can, and eventually you'll get that RNG, and then you'll get the KC. Because this KC took me way too many attempts, I will only be showing you select attempts, unlike my previous Duke video where I showed pretty much every single attempt. Otherwise, this video would be way too long. And once again, I also lost a clip of my full KC on my Iron Man. So at the very end, I will be showing the full clip of the Awakened Vard KC on my main account. And once again, all the timestamps will be in the description below. So if you want to skip all the attempts and just go straight to the full, unedited, uncommentated, like full clip of my KC, then you can do that. All right, so this one is going to be my very first attempt on my main account that I try at Awakened Vardorvis. I'm not quite sure I remember how far I get, but as you can see, I've already moved my inventory closer to Vard because I do play on full screen. So this definitely makes it a lot easier to pray flick him and move all within, certain amount of ticks. And then I think you will see I do try to prioritize dodging axes, but sometimes, you just get comboed out and it's all a learning process. So I'm just going to let this clip play out and then you can kind of see where it all goes wrong, and then maybe I'll pause and explain if I need to.
Dying on my hardcore Iron Man. Completed.
Right, so you can see there the reason why I died is I think I clicked one tick too early and I did not have my protect from melee prayer on, so I think I got just one shot by the axe. So yeah, dodging axes always number one. Had I missed a prayer flick there but dodged the axe correctly, I probably still would have been alive. And so dodges axe is number one. This is my very first attempt, so you didn't make it very far, 71%. All right, so this will be my second attempt on my main account. I definitely think once again I made it a lot further this time. But once again, your progress that you make on all of the awakened bosses, sometimes it's due to improvement in your skill, or sometimes it's just improvement in the RNG, because there is some RNG involved in all of these fights. You could have a very humble enrage phase or a very brutal one. So this is my second attempt. I think I make it a lot further, but once again, I always prioritize dodging axes and then try to flick what you can and try to stay high HP to avoid getting comboed out. So really quickly, I'm just going to point out um, the fact that I was able to get a Vardorvis KC, not this one, on a later attempt, and with what you just saw, my click accuracy, I will say like 9 out of 10 times the captcha special attack that Vardorvis throws at me, I miss it, like or I don't complete it in time. It's because my click accuracy is so horrible. So this just goes to show that you don't need godlike click accuracy to get a awakened Vardorvis KC. You just need average click accuracy, and eventually the RNG will line up. It's not the end of the world if you don't get the captcha in time. You'll take like a 30, 40, something like that, and you can always eat out of it. It really is an endurance test. Don't greed for hits and just eat up when you need to and take it slow, dodge axes, and then attack.
Dying on my hardcore Iron Man. Completed.
So this attempt is going to be on my Iron Man. It is not my first attempt on my Iron Man. I don't know what attempt it is, because I'm just going to show a couple of clips, all starting around the enraged phase, so you can kind of see what goes wrong and what kills me. Once again, it took me way more orbs on my Iron Man than it did my main. My main, it only took 3. So you saw the previous 2 attempts. The third attempt, which is the full kill, will be at the very end because I forgot to record the full kill of my Iron Man. But I'm going to show a couple of clips of my Iron Man attempts. Um, and I die always around 30%, 25%, around the enrage phase. And maybe you can kind of see what goes wrong, and then it might help you when you're trying your attempts.
Dying on my hard cry, man. Completed. Dying on my hard cry, man. Completed. Dying on my hard cry, man. Completed. hardcore Iron Man completed. Combat task completed.